For those of you who believe that animals hold all the answers and that they know everything, I would say that that applies to the higher consciousness, you know, the higher, kind of the higher self, questions around the bigger picture. When it comes to issues around diagnosis, things like, do you want to take medication? Do you want this treatment? Do you want acupuncture? Do you want, you know, pain meds? I actually believe that we need to explain in greater detail what we mean, because our animals don't themselves diagnose. They don't know the terminology of illnesses and diseases and conditions because they are created by humans. So until we can share with them in such a way that they have an understanding, they can't necessarily answer. So just kind of bear that in mind. So when we ask questions to our pets, such as, do you want to go to the vet? I think it's fair to say they're going to say no. Okay, so it makes that question not the right question to ask. Okay, so I would expand this by explaining that you have noticed that they are unwell, or that they are limping, or that they've been off their food. So you actually connect in with them with that explanation. And then you share with them your reason for taking them to the vets, so they can connect in with why a vet is necessary. All right. And then when you're sharing that level of detail with them, you can perhaps get a sense of their emotion, that you want them to trust you. You want them to understand that the decision you make is an important one, because you are their caretaker when it comes to the health issues. Same with when it's at the end of life for our pets. Often we ask them things like, is it time? Are you ready? I know we don't specifically say, do you want to be euthanized? We may be saying something like, you know, have you had enough? What we really mean is, can you tell me when I, you know, can take you to the vet to put you to sleep? I would say that animals can't answer that question, because again, I wouldn't see that they understand what being put to sleep is. Again, it's a human offering. It's something that humans have created. So they don't have any concept of that. So there's a different way to ask that question. Again, you start by explaining that you don't want them to be in pain, that there is an option not to suffer. And would they consent? So you connect in with whether there is a, you know, whether they absolutely say no to it, or that they actually has an energy or an emotion of trust. So these questions you want to connect in with, do they have an emotion that you can connect with that shows that they can trust you? Same with medication. Asking your pet, do you want to take medication? Again, they can't answer that in my experience, because they don't know what medication is. What you can do is describe what the medication is going to benefit them, be it pain relief, be it that they can be more settled. So by explaining what it is, they can then be able to give consent. Do you want treatment? Again, they can't choose that. So when it comes to health, we have to be the ones that make the decision. However, we are in the position, using animal communication, to give them the details of how it can benefit them. And then you can have an easier conversation, rather than, do you want treatment? They can't answer you. And then you're going to be in a dilemma thinking, I don't know if they want it. I feel as if I have to do it. And then you might think, I haven't got their, haven't got their permission. So the more specific you are, the more likely they can answer the question. So instead of asking questions like, what's wrong? So say if they are pacing and whining and we go, what's wrong? What's wrong? Tell me. They aren't able to answer it in such a way because they don't, again, communicate like human beings. Instead, you can ask, what are the sensations that you're experiencing right now? Because that will going to give you a lot of clues. What are the emotions you're experiencing right now? Because when we see our animals in distress, we immediately go into, oh gosh, they're afraid. But it could be all sorts of different emotions that they could be experiencing. Like I say, it can be restlessness, it can be confusion, it can be, sadness. So when you are able to pinpoint the exact emotions, that can help you to then know exactly what to do. So again, if you say something like, why are you doing that? They might not know the reason because they don't analyze. They don't sit down and go, okay, I behave in such a way because, so again, we want to go, what are you experiencing when you do that? So that would be a great question for Bertie. What are you experiencing when you lunge? And then you can say to Bertie as well, Vicky, share with me emotion, smell, and taste when you're lunging. So don't bypass smell and taste. You'll be surprised what can come out, because don't forget there's a smell of fear. And if you're frightened, you also can get a taste as well. So for them to be able to describe it really helps you to be able to validate their experience. And then often we want to ask our animals the question around pain. And I bring Ziggy into this because Ziggy has really taught me at the time when he had his injury and he had to relearn how to walk again. And this was him when he first started to be able to sit up again. So he likes to be the teacher when it comes to helping others to communicate about discomfort with their pets. So I like to use a scale of 1 to 10 so that animals are able again to be more specific about where they're at. And the way to connect in with how to get the 1 to 10, it is a knowingness. So if you develop kind of your knowingness or the first number that comes to you without you being afraid that you're getting it wrong. Because when you're asking your pet about discomfort, you check at various times of the day. You don't just ask once, because discomfort can go up and down. So you want to have almost like a journal. If your pet, let's say, is going through discomfort, you might say, okay, I'm going to check on you every hour. And you can tell me between 1 and 10, and you always clarify 1 being low, 10 is high, where are you at with it? Okay. And usually these answers will come in quickly. So don't ask over and over and over again. Just ask, trust, record it. Check again. If you want to check again 10 minutes later, check 10 minutes later. If you want to check it daily, check it daily so that you get an overall picture. And this very important question as well is ask yourself when you're getting caught up with your animal being, distressed or restless, or they can't get up, or and you think, oh my God, my poor pet, is in so much pain. Allow yourself to have some objectivity by checking in with the question. Is it my pet that cannot bear the discomfort? Or is it me that can't bear to watch my pet in discomfort? This will help you be objective, because there are times when our animals really have a different perspective on pain and discomfort. They really have a different perspective when it comes to illnesses and say, health conditions or changes in their body. We're the ones that hold a lot more trauma a lot of the times than them. So it's quite a profound question to ask when you're caught up with the distress yourself. So when you find that you're having to make decisions when it comes to health issues for your animals and that you may not get an answer from them, then I would go for consent. Do they consent to the treatment plan? Do they consent to taking medication? Do they consent to you making the decision that it is time and you no longer want them to struggle? So with consent, there is an emotion that comes with that. So that's how you'll know when your pet gives you consent. I certainly knew when Ziggy didn't give me consent to have him put down, because his story is, you know, 2 vets said that he really needed to because of the injuries that he sustained, plus his recovery looked really bleak. He did not give consent. So I knew the emotion that I felt when I was feeling as if I should listen to the medics. Of course, why wouldn't I? But it just put me in such a conflict. I knew I didn't get consent. And then when I said, right, I'm going to take you home, I had an emotion of a very strong, yes, I want to come home. Even though in front of me, I looked at him and thought, I really don't know if I'm doing the right thing. Okay, so if you're not sure, go for the consent. Okay, so that takes us into next week when we're looking at confidence. So there's a lot to take on board with the competence aspect. It will take you a little bit more time to get yourself familiar with it. It feels like there's lots of stages, as if when you want to ask a question, it's no longer just about why do you do that, or, you know, tell me what I can do in order to help you. I'm making it more of a kind of a step by step, you know, what will you share with them visually? What will you share with them emotion? Because I want you to get to a point where you realize that all of that is going to give detail to your pet. So the more specific you are about what you are actually asking about, the easier it is for them to answer.